Hey everybody, this is Mike, and today I'm going to be telling you the most transformative technique that I've come across that is literally the central driving hub of which everything else around revolves that gave me my healing. So this is the four things that heal BPD and NPD abuse. So that's all this channel is about. And these four things are the things that will, if you do them completely with all of your strength and all of your power, I can guarantee you, you will have complete healing from the trauma of the relationship that brought you to this channel. That's it. That's all I'm here to do. I talk about BPD and I talk about narcissism and I talk about codependence, but the only reason I do that is so that maybe some stuff in your brain will sort of untangle long enough for you to realize that you need to do some things to heal. And that you'll focus, instead of trying to worry about what the borderline is and all that other stuff, you'll go, okay, what can I do to feel better? And then you will take action to do that. And then you won't need to watch my channel anymore. That is my goal. I have a completely opposite desire than even my other channel. This is my other channel here. You see, I work hard to keep that channel going. It's my business. This channel isn't my business. And what I want is for you to stop watching this channel, go do the four things, get your life back so that you never have to worry about this again. So we're going to talk about the one thing that the core technique that I used, which I myself did not make up, that actually completely healed my damaged mind, psyche, and heart. And that is the fourth step of the 12 steps. So this is the four things that heal BPD and NPD abuse. And within the four things are the 12 steps. So please know that there's a difference. So what are the four things? Number one, you go complete no contact, so much so that you make it impossible for them to ever contact you again for the rest of your life. Number two, you work all 12 steps of Codependence Anonymous or whatever 12-step program you want. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Gambling Anonymous, Sex Anonymous, I don't care. You work all 12 steps and focus that onto this relationship. I guarantee you, if you work all 12 steps 100% with everything you got, I guarantee you, you will be completely healed of the trauma that you are experiencing now. If you're on this channel, you have ongoing trauma that won't go away. Because if it did, you would have stopped thinking about it. I had a cold last year. It wasn't a cold, but I had a cold last year and it went away. During those 2 weeks I had that virus, I was miserable. But once I healed, I stopped thinking about it. And it's a fact that I know that it happened, but I don't spend any time going on channels learning about that virus. I've healed from it. When you heal from these relationships, you never have to think about them again. So if you'd like that, then I give you very clear instructions. If you don't follow the instructions, guess what? I'm going to know. And I'm going to humiliate you. So if you don't want me to humiliate you, just follow instructions. And then you can be happy and then you can stop watching this channel. So we're going to talk about the fourth step, and we're going to talk about another stumbling block with the 12 steps, which is the whole, quote, God thing, unquote. If you look over here, I've got another channel. I am not a religious person. I do teach spiritual things, but I have books. Like I have one book devoted completely to looking at the historical foundations of Abrahamic monotheism, which is Christianity, Judaism, Islam. And I go into how that whole monotheist mythology was created in 350 BC, I think 358 BC, specifically for political reasons. There's nothing spiritual about it. So if you're somebody that hates that whole one God who sits up there and and sends you to hell, good, so do I. I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in God. So how is it that I don't believe in God and yet I still work the third step of the 12-step program, which is you turn your will and your life over to a power greater than yourself. So let's deal with that first since it's there. There's a question here somebody asked. It's a very honest question. Somebody says, I want to go to a CODA meeting, but I am an atheist and all the God stuff of the 12 steps doesn't really resonate or seem to help me. Any advice? Should I go anyway? So I just got through telling you I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Jehovah. I think Jehovah is a made-up, nonsensical way of controlling, manipulating entire populations. It was designed to be a political tool of controlling an entire, thou shalt have no other God before me. And who is that God? That God is Jehovah. And who is Jehovah? Jehovah is the God of Israel. It was a political tactic. It's got nothing to do with spirituality. So I don't worship God either. So you're not being entirely honest here because you say the God of the 12 steps doesn't really resonate or seem to help me. How do you know? You haven't even been to a meeting yet. So you don't know if it resonates or seems to help you because you don't even know what it is they're talking about. So the 12 steps were created in the 1930s, 90 years ago. And back then, the only form of spirituality they had was Abrahamic monotheism. You were in the United States, you were either a Christian of some sect or you were a Jew, and that was it. And so when somebody wanted to talk about something that was, non-physical, they talked about God. And they very quickly came up with a definition of that, which is God as you understand him. Bear in mind, we're talking 90 years ago. So that's all that people could think of. God was a him, and then they could change that interpretation. Then later, it turned into a power greater than yourself. So that has nothing to do with God. Every single one of you, I don't care who you are, there's no such thing as somebody who doesn't have principles that are greater than themselves. Do you go out and steal? No, you don't believe in that. That is a principle that is greater than you. Do you believe in being kind to other people? Does that drive your actions towards others, at least at times? Then that is a principle that is greater than you. So kindness is a power greater than yourself. Do you believe in justice? Do you believe in honesty? Do you believe in love? Do you believe in the sun? The sun is a power greater than you. So there is no shortage of powers greater than you. And you can find something that you feel positive about. There are people that use doorknobs. Without a doorknob, I can't open my door. If all of a sudden something magical happened and my doorknob were just to disappear, I would have to break my door down to get out of my house. So a doorknob is a power greater than me. So why is this important? It's important because you are, let's be honest, you are in pain. You can't get out of it. If you were able to get out of your pain, you wouldn't be on my channel. If you were able to get out of pain, you wouldn't be watching videos about is Amber Heard a borderline or not. You're watching these videos because you're still in a state of cognitive dissonance trying to figure out what happened to you. You think if you can figure out the borderline, then you'll be okay. But no matter how much you try and figure out the borderline, or no matter how much you listen to me explain to you what's going on, you may get a brief rush out of, yeah, they're crazy and it's not my fault. But then you wake up in the middle of the night in a sweat. You wake up angry. You wake up hurt. You wake up sad. You wake up lonely. You wake up traumatized because of what happened to you in this relationship. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So let's not BS each other. So since you are powerless over this, you can't think your way out. You've tried using your brain to think your way out, but guess what? Your best thinking got you here. Your best thinking got you in one, if not multiple, relationships with abusive, narcissistic people. You can't stop attracting them, and at the very least, you can't stop thinking about what happened. So your best thinking isn't helping you either. So your thinking isn't going to help you. What about taking actions? So I keep talking about having the power to take different actions. So you also don't have the ability to do anything different. Many of you still end up with narcissistic people, or you're so afraid of relationships that you don't get involved with anybody. Both of those are a sign of you not having the ability to take appropriate action to give you what you need and what you want in life. So your thinking isn't working for you. You can't think your way out of your screwy thinking. And you don't have the power to take actions. So your thinking isn't giving you the power to give you relief from your pain. So that means you need help. If you're at home and your plumbing goes crazy and there's water spewing everywhere and you're not a plumber, you don't have the ability to fix that. All of your thinking is not going to change the fact that water is spewing all over your apartment or your home. So what do? You call somebody that has more knowledge than you do about that. You ask for help. And at that moment, when the plumber shows up, you literally turn your will and your life and your home over to the power of something greater than yourself, which is the knowledge of how to fix plumbing. That is a power you don't have. It's greater than you. That plumber is more powerful than you are. So in that moment, you are turning your will and your life over to the care of the plumber. That's what we're doing here. You've got a problem that needs to be fixed. You've got an emotional, psychological, and mental dysfunction that you can't fix. In fact, you can't use your bad thinking to fix your bad thinking. You can't use your broken feelings to fix your broken feelings. So this is what this is about. So it's about getting rid of this ego that we have that isn't serving us. There's nothing wrong with ego. Ego just means self. So your identity is fractured. It's not working right. You need something to fix that. So turning your will and your life over to the care of something greater than you could mean anything as long as it's not you. Is the idea of love. Would you think that if you just had love, you'd be fixed? Great. That's your higher power. I turn my will and my life over to the care of love. Who doesn't want to do that? Critical thinking. Some people turn God into good, orderly direction. Anything that is more powerful than you. You don't like Jehovah, the God of the Bible? Neither do I. I think Jehovah is an absolute, total lunatic, psychopathic narcissist. Why would I turn my will and my life over to Jehovah? So I don't turn my will and my life over to God. I have other things that I turn my will and my life over, which are more powerful than me and things that I like. So it's God as you understand God, a power greater than yourself. So I understand people's stumbling block, but now that you know that, get over yourself. You want to turn your will and your life over to the power of atheism. Seriously, whatever works, man. Because this isn't about going to church and worshiping God. This is about finding a method that cures your pain. So the truth is that human beings have evolved to be spiritual beings. Because if it weren't for Abrahamic monotheism, there would be no such thing as atheism. Atheism means against God, not God. So the truth is, people who are atheist, guess what? On an unconscious level, you are a closet monotheist. You're an unconscious monotheist, because the only reason you need to say there is no God is if inside there's a part of you saying there is the one God. Before 358 BC, there was no place in the world where there was such a thing as monotheism or atheism. People believed in all kinds of stuff. People worshiped the sky, they worshiped the thunder, they worshiped the goddess of love, they worshiped whatever was attractive to them. And we are designed to do that. So all you're doing is you're tapping into, even if you choose not to believe in God, you can say, well, I'm just going to kind of BS myself because it's the way that my brain has evolved to solve problems. Because originally, spirituality was about solving problems. It wasn't about being good. It was about solving your everyday problems. And if you needed crops in the field, then you worshipped the fertility god, and if you meditated on that, you came up with ways to fertilize and to plant. So somebody could say, yes, the fertility god gave me the understanding and gave us the knowledge of how to plant corn. That's all it is. It's about solving a problem. You have a problem. Your problem is you're stuck on this hamster wheel. You're in a lot of pain. So you can turn your will and your life over to critical thinking, to being self-empowered. As long as it's greater than you, something you need that you don't have now. Okay? So that's the God thing. And if you want to worship the whole Jehovah nonsense, if that works for you, go right ahead. You can do that too. So that answers that question. Yes, get your ass to a meeting and ask people about it. Say, I don't like the religion thing. I'm an atheist. How do I do this third step thing? Turning my will and my life over to a power greater than myself. And somebody else will say, that's okay, I'm an atheist too. Let me tell you how I did it. All right, so the next question here. So bear in mind, guys, I'm going to know if you do the four things. And I can't say it any more clearly. The only way out of this, in my experience and my observation, is the four things. Going no contact, working all 12 steps with a sponsor. Those two things are non-negotiable. In my experience, if you don't do those two things fully, then it is unlikely that you will completely heal. You will always have issues bothering you 10, 20, 30 years from now. That's my experience. So this person asks, thanks for the vid. I was talking about my review of the human magnet syndrome. You can watch that. That is a good example of somebody who doesn't have any real recovery. They have a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of this, but it's not lasting recovery. And I talk about that in that video. So this person says, thanks for the vid. Question, how do you deal with jealousy after breaking up with BPD? So right off the bat, I know you haven't done the four things, because the second thing, not the second step, the second thing is the 12 steps. Of the 12 steps, there is this thing called the fourth step. The fourth step is precisely, specifically about dealing with your resentments. So the fact that you asked that question tells me you haven't done the four things, especially the first two non-negotiable things. And then you're going to go and show us how full of crap you are. You ready? You say, thanks for the question. How do you deal with jealousy after breaking up with a BPD? And then you go in giving us way too much information, which again shows me you haven't done the work, because you're so wrapped up in yourself. You're going to tell me about your sexual fetishes, and you'll never be able to find that. And it's like, I don't need to know that information. You're asking me, how do you deal with your resentment? I don't need to know about your sexual life, so I'm not going to read all of that. You say, how do you deal with jealousy after breaking up with a BPD? How do you get, your perfect woman? How do you get over it? And then you say, full of your own narcissism, full of your own disrespect. You come onto this channel, you're asking me a question because you think I have the answer, but you've already disdained and disrespected the specific instructions I've given you. So that's like if you want to fix something and there's the guy says take step one, take the screwdriver. Step two, unscrew the screw. Step three, put putty on it. Step four, sand it, right? So that's like if you say, okay, give me the directions, and then you go, okay, so I understand it. I got to do that. So how do I fix the hole in my wall? And the guy says, I just told you. That's what you just did. I mean, it's so grandiose of you because you say, yeah, no contact and the four steps. I didn't say four steps. I said four things. So no, yeah, no contact and the four things. I got it. But still, how am I going to get over? How am I going to get over my resentment? So, do you see how ridiculous you have made yourself out to be? You're so full of yourself that you think you know more than I do, which that's fine if you do, but you're asking me a question, which assumes you think I have the answer. And yet you haven't even bothered to follow the instructions. This is such a codependent thing to do. And as I said, I'm going to know if you've done the four things. You even admit it. You say, yeah, I got it. The no contact and the four things. But how do I get over my resentment? So I say, how? By doing the fourth step of coda. If you were doing the four things, not the four steps, if you were doing the four things, you would know that the fourth step is specifically about resolving resentments. Are you paying attention to what I always say? Every question you have will either be answered by the four things, or doing the four things will make your question irrelevant. So do the four things and you won't have to ask any questions. On my other channel, I teach certain things, and people ask me, I want to know exactly what I'm going to get from this practice. And I go, I don't know. Go do it and you'll find out. So when you have all these questions, I'm telling you, I'm not here to solve your questions. I'm here to tell you what to do that will solve your questions for you. So this is why I no longer do live streams, because you guys who aren't doing the four things keep asking me the same questions. And all of those questions get resolved when you do the four things. So don't try and get rid of the questions. Just go do the work. In traditional Chinese martial arts, which is very hard to find now, but in traditional Chinese martial arts, if you, back in the day, if you were to walk into the studio and you were to go up to the Sifu and say, okay, I want to know exactly how this martial art is going to, and I want you to tell me, he would say, thank you for coming, there's the door, I can't help you. When you walk in, you would say, I want to learn. And they say, good, go stand in the corner on one leg. And while you're standing in the corner on one leg, everybody's doing all these drills, and you want to go do the drills with everybody, but the guy's got you standing in the corner on one leg. Now, if you stop, because he says, do it until I tell you to stop, and then he's working with somebody. If you stop, he's going to see it, and he's going to go, thank you, please leave. Because you don't follow instructions. If he says, go stand in the corner on one foot until I tell you to, if he says, go stand in the corner on one foot, and you say, for how long? He's going to say, thank you for coming, there's the door. Because you're not following instructions. So I know it sounds, really controlling, but it's not my instructions. I didn't make them up. But I'm telling you, if you follow them, all of your questions will be answered. And the thing is, the first two things are free, going no contact and working the 12 steps. And so you got nothing to lose. So why don't you try following instructions? And then after you've thoroughly, completely followed those instructions, guess what? Most of your questions, if not all of them, will either be answered, or at some point the problem will get solved within you and the question will become irrelevant. So in other words, don't waste my time and don't waste your own time. There you go. So how do you deal with resentment? I've already told you. Pay attention and put effort, and I guarantee you, if you do the four things with everything that you have, I guarantee you, you will be healed of that relationship. There'll be a lot of other stuff you'll have to work on for the rest of your life, but the relationship will be healed. So what is it about the fourth step? So I've talked about the third step. I'm now talking about the fourth step. The fourth step is really simple. And when you do the fourth step, don't do one of those big workbook things that they give you. Don't do that. The fourth step is just 4 columns. It's very simple. You put down 4 columns, and they have to do with your resentments. And you look at who you're angry at, why, the personal self-preservation techniques, your self-defense mechanisms, which they called back then 90 years ago, they called character defects, but they really are self-preservation methods. And then fourth, you look at what your part in it was, how you participated in it. What you're going to find out is you're going to find out about your agendas. You're going to find out about your expectations, the things that you wanted that you didn't get. And underneath that, you're going to find out how you yourself created the environment where you ended up being hurt and angry. And then you will then be in a position where you can work. The rest of the steps are designed to dismantle that. And guess what? It's magical. The resentment goes away. And then with your resentment, when your resentment goes away, your attachment to that person also goes away. You will see them for who they really are. You will no longer be angry, nor will you be sad. You will have no attachment to them. You will be able to look at them, wish them the best, and never think about them again. Just like the cold that I had, a couple of years ago. I remember that it happened, but I don't spend any time worrying about it or worrying, I hope I doesn't get sick again. I don't worry about that. I don't worry about relationships. I don't worry about getting hurt because I fixed the problem. So there you go. I had some spare time these days so I can make videos. So there you go. That's it. Do the 4 things and heal, or don't and be miserable. And again, I'm going to know. And by the way, when you do the 4 things, you will also immediately know. When somebody leaves a comment, you will immediately know whether they've done the 4 things or not. So if you want to have a goal so you can be superior to others and have some kind of psychic knowledge about the state of people, then now you have a selfish, self-centered, narcissistic reason which will drive you to do the 4 things. Because from here on out, you'll be able to know immediately when somebody is full of crap and if they've done the 4 things. All right, that's it. Wish you guys all the best. Stay safe. Watch out for those sexy little big-eyed, doughy-eyed borderlines lurking out there.